make the logical decision to veto SB 3. Governor Abbott has long championed Texas as a home for business, celebrating the 3.3 million small businesses that power our economy. In 2015, Governor Abbott pledged to make Texas the #1 state for women-owned businesses. I am one of those women, and I am not alone. Nearly half of the hemp industry is comprised of women business owners. Today, over 10,000 hemp business owners, women and men, request that Governor Abbott veto SB 3. We're also here to address the misinformation, misdirection, and maligning of this industry by Senator Charles Perry and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Make no mistake, the idea that no one knows what is in these products is false. For the past 6 years, Texas law has mandated third-party lab testing and clear labeling. The only goal of these scare tactics was to frighten legislators and the public into going along with an agenda they did not ask for. The Texas hemp industry is comprised overwhelmingly of law-abiding, compliant entrepreneurs, mom-and-pop stores, distributors, and ancillary businesses. It was legalized by President Donald Trump in 2018 and then legalized and regulated in Texas in 2019. Today, you'll hear from a panel of speakers representing every corner of this industry, from growers and retailers to trade groups and veterans. SB 3 violates the very principles Texas prides itself on: small government, individual freedom, and free enterprise. We have over 114,000 petitions and handwritten letters echoing Governor Abbott's heartfelt sentiment from 2021 when he stated, "Don't tread on our personal freedoms." Governor Abbott, we ask that you keep your promise to small businesses, to women entrepreneurs, and to every Texan who values freedom. Please veto SB 3. And now I will introduce Mark Borders, who is the Executive Director of the Texas Hemp Business Coalition.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you to members of the press for being here today. My name is Mark Borders. I serve as Executive Director of the Texas Hemp Business Council. The organization was formed by like-minded industry members intent on further regulating the industry for the benefit of the industry and for the safety of consumers. Texas has a proud heritage of creating a pro-business environment while protecting its citizens. Economic freedom, free enterprise, and limited government are the hallmarks of the Texas experience. The state has won 12 consecutive prestigious Governor's Cups for the best place in which to do business. But now we have witnessed an apparent triumph of raw politics over thoughtful policy, individual will supplanting the will of the people, as evidenced by numerous public opinion polls, every major newspaper in the state of Texas, and robust hearings. Hearings, by the way, which began early in the morning and went late into the night in one instance, and in the second case, it went into the next morning. Of course, Texans that chose to testify, over 90% were opposed to Senate Bill 3. So Texas is standing at a critical crossroads, not just for Texas hemp industry, but for the individual rights of all Texans, entrepreneurs, farmers, small businesses, and consumers. Thankfully, there's one stop left in the legislative process, and that is with the CEO of our state, Governor Greg Abbott. The hemp industry is a $10 billion a year enterprise employing over 53,000 Texans, which has grown year over year since its inception in 2018. Who contributes to this level of economic impact? Family farmers, local retailers, processors, many of whom are minority-owned and or veteran-owned small businesses. And as all of our legislative leaders are fond of saying, small business is the backbone of our state's economy. But equally important, let us not forget who else this legislation would harm: consumers. Texans use consumable hemp products for wellness, stress management, sleep and digestive aid, pain relief, and more as legal alternatives to addictive opioids or alcohol. Make no mistake, Senate Bill 3 is not regulation, it's old-fashioned prohibition. Prohibition did not work in the 20s for alcohol, and it will not work now for hemp. Not with e-commerce, an American public that's more mobile than ever. Border security and cartels remain chief concerns for Texans. The number one killer of Americans 18 to 45 years old is fentanyl, according to the CDC. If the cartels didn't bother getting licensed by the state of Texas, they won't be bothered, however, by an unenforceable ban. Ask yourselves this: do you think the cartels will be happy to fill any potential resulting product void? And do you think fentanyl poisonings will go up or down in Texas as a result? The answer is sadly obvious, at least to most Texans. And so we implore our governor to side with the citizens of Texas, not the pharmaceutical industry or alcohol lobbies, as evidenced by witness lists from the hearings, polls consistently showing Texans strongly prefer regulation to elimination, transcendent of party affiliation, every major paper in the state being opposed to Senate Bill 3, and over 116,000 signatures on petitions, as well as 5,000 handwritten letters from citizens across Texas imploring the governor to veto Senate Bill 3. Thank you.
My name's Tara Latil, and I'm a small business owner in Texas. Like more than 10,000 others across the state, I built my business from the ground up, legally, transparently, and with the hope that this state valued people who work hard and play by the rules. Today, that hope is dying. And if Senate Bill 3 is signed into law, our entire industry will be wiped out. This bill isn't just about big corporations pushing out small businesses. It's also being driven by misinformation, political posturing, and a lack of understanding. Some lawmakers are reacting to fear, not facts, while others see banning hemp products as an easier path than creating thoughtful regulations. We're just middle-class Texans, moms, dads, veterans, cancer survivors, farmers, and young entrepreneurs trying to make an honest living. I have a 5-year lease at $5,000 a month. That's $300,000 I still owe, even if I'm forced to shut my doors. The proposed $20,000 licensing fee, that's completely out of reach for a small store in a rural Texas town. Then there's the $500 per product fee. When most of us carry between 150 and 200 products, 95% of which will now be banned. This bill's not designed to regulate us. It's designed to bury us in fees, paperwork, and fines until we have no choice but to shut down and walk away, leaving the market wide open for a few wealthy players who've been quietly funding this ban from the sidelines, not to mention the unregulated black market. You've heard from legislators and doctors talking about safety, but safety doesn't come from pushing small businesses out and handing the market over to monopolies. Safety comes from responsible access, regulation, and accountability, which we've supported since day one. The truth is, this bill doesn't just ban products. It bans people like me from surviving in Texas. But it's not just about me. It's about the customers who will lose access to the only thing that helps them. The farmers who will stop planting, the manufacturers who will leave, the employees who will lose their jobs, and the communities that will suffer. Governor Abbot, we're asking you to veto this bill, not for politics, but for principle. We followed the rules you gave us in 2019. We built businesses under the promise that Texas rewards hard work. We gave people an alternative to pain pills, alcohol, and hopelessness. Now we're being told that wasn't enough, that our votes don't matter, that our businesses are disposable. But we're not disposable. We're Texans, and we deserve to be heard, not outspent. Stand with the middle class, stand with the truth, Stand with the people who built this industry, not the ones who bought it. Thank you.
I don't need anybody's permission. I'm not used to that. Hey everybody, my name is Colton Luther. I'm a 6th generation Texan from Hempstead, Texas. I'm also a entrepreneur, small business owner, and a farmer. And I'm honored to speak here, bring a new face to the new generation of agriculture in Texas, but also speak for farmers out there that are already in the hemp program, and hope to give them a voice so that we don't get overlooked again, as agriculture often does. For the last few years, we've invested millions of dollars and thousands of man hours by developing a foundation and infrastructure to operate in this program. The program that was given to us and encouraged upon us by this exact same legislature that's trying to ban these things. Now, the Agriculture Commissioner did make a statement, as well as a few others, saying that this is a consumable hemp ban. It doesn't affect agriculture. Well, that may be true in the form of the products and the sale. However, if you take away the market that creates the demand that the farmers are upholding, what business do we have left is my question. And so we would love to grow an enormous amount of acreage of industrial hemp when the market and the demand catches up the way that cannabinoid has. And so we've tried to be on the forefront of hemp as the legislature, I'm sure, intended. And so it is a shame that we are trying to ban these things and take away the market that these farmers depend on to sell their crop. Sid Miller also mentioned that farmers are not interested in this. There's no market. It's a non-issue. Then he wasn't farming with me, because I have a market and a demand that I cannot keep up with, and it's nationwide and worldwide. There's a huge threat to rural economies on this. A lot of the businesses and farmers that I know are out there are in rural economies, rural communities. That's another problem with this, is we're losing, again, additional jobs and funds in those communities. They have slandered us with harmful misinformation that's just blatantly not true. We're not evil people trying to hurt children or any of the claims that they make. In fact, one of my businesses it goes to the end of the earth to make sure that the products are safe, tested, organic, and all of these other issues that are being brought up by the legislature and the lieutenant governor. Most importantly here, this is bad policy. This is policy that takes away an entire industry from someone, and it takes away jobs, it takes away money, it takes away a ton of things. There are going to be a ton of devastation from this bill, both physically, mentally, to our community, as well as economically. And this is just bad policy. That is the number one reason why we should veto this bill. There's no one here fighting for the Wild West. We want regulation. We want sensible guardrails on this industry to protect people, to protect consumers. That's why we're all in this industry in the first place. But banning it is definitely not the answer. This bill is definitely not the answer. And this is bad policy. So farmers out there are uncertain now of the next season. We have people who are the largest grows in America that are actually on pause at the moment, losing money day by day, waiting to make sure that what they grow, what they process, and the transactions they do not land them a felony. So we urge Greg Abbott to veto this bill. It's just bad policy, and we urge you to give us yet another win in Texas agriculture. Thank you all.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Mitch Fuller. I'm the National and State Legislative Chairman for the VFW Department of Texas, and for this VFW year, I'm the Chairman of the VFW National Legislative Committee. So I go to Washington, D.C. twice a year with the National Legislative Committee. And we want to thank Governor Abbott for his staff meeting with us last week with Commander Walden. I'll bring Commander Walden up here in just a second. Robert Howard and his team met with us, and we appreciate that, and we urge Governor Abbott to please veto Senate Bill 3. Senate Bill 3 will take away hemp-derived consumables, which is an important alternative modality to the opioids and antidepressants that the VA has been negligent in shoving down our throats for the last 25 years. That's the problem. That's the poison. are the opioids. This is a national priority as well. I had the honor of testifying on this very issue in March before Congress with our national commander. Please don't take something away from us that works. Hemp-derived consumables work. More than 158,000 veterans have committed suicide in the last 25 years. 158,000. That was more than were killed in Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, every conflict, Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Taking this away from us is a threat. This is literally our lives that are at stake. Hemp-derived consumables have helped thousands of veterans in this state, millions across the country, avoid the pharmaceutical cocktail of opioids and antidepressants. One of those 158,000 suicides happened on April 7th, the day that the hearing in the House State Affairs began on Senate Bill 3, and that was an 18-and-a-half-hour hearing. As Mark Borda said earlier, 90% of the people that testified for that, or testified that evening and that day, two-day hearing, were against Senate Bill 3, and we were part of that. I walked out of the state capitol at 2:30 in the morning. That's how much this means to the VFW. On the same day, April 7th, Mark Miller, a Navy combat veteran, walked onto the grounds of the Audie Murphy VA facility in San Antonio, and he killed himself. He shot himself right there on the spot. And it's because of the opioids. It's because of the antidepressants. Let us choose what works best for us. I personally use these products, and it's not poison. At his press conference last week, which was difficult to watch, which is an understatement, the Lieutenant Governor, that press conference was an embarrassment to the state of Texas. And it was full of lies. And he said, I don't want 20, 30, 40, 50-year-olds getting this. Well, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, I'm 57 years old. I don't need you or anybody in this state to try to say that you're taking care of me. Because no one is suggesting outlawing alcohol, pharmaceuticals, or tobacco, are we? Those are the poisons. Hemp-derived consumables are not poison. They are helping us save our lives and helping us to have productive lives. A lot of talk about taking care of children. I'm a father. I've got two young adult kids. We all take that very seriously. But children also need access to this product. The night of that hearing, April 7th and 8th, before the Senate State Affairs Committee, there were mothers with their children talking about how this benefits them. So Governor Abbott, go back and watch that testimony. Watch that 14-year-old girl and that 16-year-old young girl, one of whom was in a wheelchair, talk about how this benefits them. This is serious. This is serious for us. This was our top priority to oppose this bill. Governor Abbott, please take care of veterans, take care of Texans, take care of small businesses, take care of us, and veto this bill. At this time, I want to bring up Dave Walden. Dave is currently our state senior vice commander for the VFW Department of Texas, and in 5 days he will be our state commander. By the way, I'm an Iraq War veteran. Dave is a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. Dave.
Good morning. My name is Dave Walden, and I am a U.S. Army vet, served from 2001 to 2012 with multiple combat deployments. I serve today, as Mitch said, as the Texas VFW State Senior Vice Commander, representing over 64,000 veterans in Texas. And I'm here today with one simple message. Governor Abbott, please veto Senate Bill 3. Let me tell you why. Like so many of my fellow veterans, I didn't come home whole. I lived with chronic pain, I lived with PTSD, and I lived with the memories that will never leave. I lived with the scars you can see and the ones you can't. And like thousands of us, I went through the government's solution, a never-ending parade of pills, Vicodin, Valium, Tramadol, Neurontin, antidepressants, sleeping pills. The list goes on and on. Those drugs nearly destroyed me. My wife once went to the store, came home with a friend, only to find me 2 blocks from my house, standing on the sidewalk, holding my cane at the low ready like a rifle, completely lost in a fog due to prescription drugs. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was. All this was at a time where I could barely walk. Now the good news, I was moving so slow, I didn't make it that far. I was only 2 blocks from the house. But let's be honest. That's not funny. That's terrifying. That was the moment I realized the so-called solution the government gave me was killing me slowly. This right here, legal hemp-derived consumable THC gummies, brought me back. One man, a Coast Guard veteran, started a company that saved my life and the life of thousands of other veterans in Texas and across the country. I'm not going to call him out by name, but he's here today and he knows who he is. These gummies are clearly labeled, right there on the back. Safe, regulated, and effective. Since 2018, I haven't touched a single opioid or any of the other drugs that I mentioned above. I've rebuilt my life. I've become a better leader, a better husband, a better father, and ultimately a better man. But now Senate Bill 3 wants to turn this into contraband. It wants to turn me and thousands of other veterans into criminals for choosing an alternative that works for us. And if that hypocrisy wasn't bad enough, let's talk about the false narrative these politicians are spinning. We've seen Lieutenant Governor Patrick and them stand up and paint this as a fight to protect children, but that is not the truth. Let's be clear. This is not a loophole in the industry. It's not a Wild West market. Consumable hemp has been legal from the start. It is in the original legislation, not a loophole. It's as plain as day. Consumable hemp products for human consumption are legal under regulation. Let's stop pretending that this is about public safety. This is about power. This is about control. And veterans are caught in the crossfire. All of this right here, pills, alcohol, they do more harm every day than this does. But these are legal. Where are the ingredients on these? They're not there. Let's talk about who's pushing this. Governor Patrick stood in front of cameras and fed the public fear and fiction. He says hemp is dangerous. He says we need to crack down. But what he's really saying is that veterans like me don't deserve relief unless it comes with a prescription pad and a pill bottle. That is shameful, that is reckless, and it is un-American. It is not leadership, it is not compassion, it's tyranny, plain and simple. But I don't believe all of Texas leadership is lost. Governor Abbott, I'm speaking directly to you here. You are a man of integrity and common sense. And in moments like this, that's exactly what Texans need. SB 3 is deeply flawed. It criminalizes veterans. It restricts access to the very tools that helped save my life and countless others. Veto Senate Bill 3. Show Texas that you are a leader who listens to veterans and Texans, not politicians with agenda and not big money. Show the people that integrity still exists in Austin. Veterans are not asking for a handout. We're asking for options. For the freedom we fought to protect. For common sense over politics. And most of all, we're asking that you not make us criminals. Veto Senate Bill 3. Do it for every veteran who just wants to live in peace. Do it for the Texan who wants to be present, not numb. Do it because it's right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So that concludes the prepared remarks by the speakers, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
For
Yes?
our veterans in the room, on the House floor, there's veteran David Lowe on the Republican side. He argued that veterans shouldn't be used as, he said, a talking point in this argument. What would your response to him be?
My response to him would be that our national convention and our state convention of both of the VFW set the #1 priority of national and of our state as protecting any alternative to opioids. That's one veteran's opinion. I have written consent that I speak for 64,000 veterans in Texas, not just one.
Has there been any communication with the governor's office? Have you heard any information of the information?
We have not, but I want to compliment Robert Howard and his team. They met with us last week. We did ask for a meeting with Governor Abbott. We have not heard back from them.
Yeah, and so at the conclusion of this, when we're done with the Q&A portion, you're welcome to come with us down to the first floor of the governor's office, where we'll be hand delivering these petitions to some of the governor's team.
So I had a question. Folks in lawmakers in Texas yesterday also expanded the compassionate use program, and they pointed to that as an alternative for folks if these THC products, the ban is signed into law. Can you respond to that? Is that enough to meet the needs of folks?
Go ahead.
So let me respond just from the veteran standpoint, if you will. Let me find my little baggie here. This right here is 5 times less than what teacup is in its current state. For a veteran that lives on disability, I explored teacup. I did my own research. $500 a month is what it cost me versus $90 in gummies. A veteran that lives on VA disability and makes a couple grand a month and that's all the income they have, how can they afford it? So yes, it's out there, but it's not easily accessible. It's not easily affordable or any of those options either.
We supported that. We supported that bill. We supported the expansion of it. That's one alternative modality as well. But let me piggyback. Let me answer the question this way and fill you in on the sausage making the last 2 weeks. They tried. They didn't really want to do that. So 2 weeks ago on Memorial Day weekend, in the Senate State Affairs Committee with House Bill 46, they stripped out everything that was in the original House Bill 46. Over the Memorial Day weekend, a sacred weekend for us in our community. And we didn't know until literally yesterday what that was going to look like. So we commend the members of the conferees, the committee, particularly the House of Representatives. And I will tell you this, I want to thank Speaker Verse and the House of Representatives, because when we do our scorecard at the end of the session on which chamber supports veterans more, it's this side of the Capitol. Because there is a lot of good legislation that's gotten through the last 2 sessions in the House that the Senate didn't take up. But again, we support that, but it's going to take time to implement those changes. There's language in there about you got to have certain licensees by a certain date, and they have 2 years to sell the product. It's going to take a while to ramp this up. So in the meantime, you're going to take away potentially something from us that works right now that will be illegal on September 1st.
You mentioned the original text of the bill that was offered by Senator Perry and pushed forward by Dan Patrick. You go back to the original clip when they passed it in 2019, both seemed very complimentary when they passed it and seemed to know what they were getting into. What do you think changed their tune?
Who wants to take that one? Let the industry take that one.
Yeah, so I would have to say that other entrenched interests, perhaps adult consumables of other varieties, took note of the rapid growth of our industry and looked at it cynically and didn't want us to participate in providing relief and giving people wellness alternatives.
I guess kind of piggybacking on my earlier question too, with that teacup expansion, they pointed to, you mentioned the cost of those products at $500 versus $90. Supporters, some folks in their arguments have said, okay, by allowing for overnight storage and by creating more licenses, that will create competition and drive the prices down for these products. Does anyone have a response to that argument?
Sure. And again, the VFW supports teacup as well. But let me just say, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. To Mitch's point, every day that a veteran has to stay on opioids is one day closer to pushing them to the brink. I was so scared over Memorial Day weekend because of the verbiage in there about going on to opioids. You heard my story. Were they going to force me back onto opioids was my question, right? I wasn't going to do it, so what was that going to leave me? So yes, to your point, teacup expansion, we support it, but it's going to take too long.
We're going to hold them to it too.
just wanted to address a couple of things that were brought up just now. Mitch referenced the shenanigans that happened the past couple of weeks that got HB 46 passed. But let's talk about what happened during SB 3. SB 3 was used as a cudgel for people. So the lieutenant governor held funding for children. They held funding for children hostage, they held veterans hostage, and beat legislators over the head until they passed SB 3. That is not good policy. That is straight up politics and power. The teacup program can be what it is, but I will tell you, for those of you who don't know, Texas has a very limited medical marijuana program. And even with this expansion, you have right now one company that has 70% of the market that employs 20 or 30 people versus 53,000 people that will be put out of business. This is an example of the government picking winners and losers in business. This is an example of a state-sponsored monopoly, because that is what it is. The state decides who can compete in the teacup program and who cannot. Hemp is a direct competitor. It is a federally legal product that competes with federally illegal marijuana in this state. And that seems to be getting passed over. So Senator Perry, Charles Perry, Lieutenant Governor, are pushing state-controlled monopolies of federally illegal substances over a vibrant 6-year legitimate industry signed into law by President Trump in 2018 and then legalized and regulated in Texas by them in 2019.
Question for any of the industry leaders up here. We're coming up, if this is signed into law, I know right now the Veto effort's in full force, but September 1st is rapidly approaching. How are companies preparing for that shift if it should go through?
I think companies are looking at their options. They're exploring what they can do and what they can't do. I do know that many companies will move out of this state. That is not a free state. It is not a business-friendly state if this goes through. And if they move out, I will help them pack their trucks.
And, Colton, maybe you could speak to the implications for farmers.
Absolutely. The implications for this are massive on the farm side. Again, they're taking away the market that we sell directly into. If you look up statistics on hemp across the entire world on hemp production, majority of the hemp production that gets processed is for extraction of cannabinoid, or they call it biomass. It's not this industrial hemp that they are trying to make you believe that they wanted to make legal in 2019 for only fiber and concrete. The demand, and they knew this all along, the demand was for cannabinoid, and they wanted to give farmers a way to diversify and compete, and also create a way for Texas to be the path forward on something that was obviously becoming very, very popular across the United States, nonetheless, Texas. So on the teacup side as well, you know, these people, if they can manufacture and grow and create products and compete, we say this all the time, they can obviously join hemp. They can enter the hemp market and dominate if they are such a better quality or whatever they claim to be. So there's a lot of issues there. And on the farming side, again, at the end of the day, we're small businesses. We're small businesses. If you look up here, it's not a bunch of large corporations with all of our attorneys and a bunch of muscle behind us. We're small businesses, we're Texans. We're out there in the field, we're growing. And the reason why I'm actually here speaking to everyone today is because I'm on behalf of the folks that are out there working right now. They're getting dirty, their hands are dirty right now to push their business forward and provide for their family in a legal industry that we were given. And that's now obviously going to be hindered.
When does the planning begin for the fall harvest?
Right now. Like I said, we're in it. Actually, you know, we've had media outlets that wanted to come to see the fields and see the acreage. It's just plowed field right now, and there's a lot of people that are planning, of course, but we're also watching this bill to see what happens. Again, there's a lot of farmers were already hesitant when you had the hemp conversation, and now that you have this rhetoric that it's going to be a felony or that, you know, it's killing people when it's not true, it definitely has farmers pumping the brakes and rethinking things, or again, thinking of a move. There's a lot of other states that are begging for agriculture and for hemp producers to come there. And we don't want to do that. That's why we're here. That's why we've been here for 6 years. And you know, we've fought through it all continuously over the years to stay here. We want to be here for Texas, for Texans, and provide this product so that Texas can win. And this is, again, just bad policy that will trickle down and affect farmers, even in agriculture, whether they want to claim that or not.
I know you all spent a lot of time responding to different things the Lieutenant Governor said last week. One of the things I don't think I heard brought up was his insinuation, if not outright saying, that consumable hemp kills people. Is there something that you would like to respond on that?
Yeah, I was supposed to say it.
I did hear that, which was super surprising, and someone here in this room actually researched the alleged 22-year-old who stepped in front of a train, and despite the fact that you can find everything on the internet, even stuff that's not true, there was nothing about that. No report, no nothing. So to the statement that these products are dangerous, they aren't. They come with instructions, they come with directions. We expect responsible adult use. The legislature dishes at any point could have implemented a 21 and over policy and have chosen not to. That's not on the industry. For 2 sessions, we pushed an age gate bill. And for 2 sessions, it was rejected in favor of trying to destroy a homegrown industry. So if you're really concerned about children and you were really concerned about minors having access all this time, why didn't you just pass an age gate bill? It's a simple question that you will not get an answer to. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
How can farmers in Texas produce any hemp with a zero non-detect THC limit without being criminally immediately after harvest?
This entire bill, Senate Bill 3, is designed to destroy an industry. It's not designed with logic or rationale in mind. It's not designed with solutions. So the focus or the intent was to create destruction and chaos, and that's what they've achieved.
Could you tell me how many licenses they're expanding and what is the price for the licenses for the teacup?
Here's what's interesting is that I can't actually, I think it's expanded to 12 licenses. I can't tell you what it costs. 18 licenses?
From 3.
I don't know.
15.
15. Total 15. Okay, over the course of a couple of years. What I can tell you is that hemp licenses are run by dishes. They are handed out by dishes. What I can tell you is that no one in the hemp space, none of the 53,000 employees, none of the thousands of businesses have ever said, don't expand teacup. Not one person who supports the hemp industry has said, disadvantage the medical marijuana program. But the medical marijuana program, its task force, its participants, the sellers of medical marijuana have actively lobbied to shut down the hemp industry. So I can't answer your question because I'm not all up in their business the way they are in ours.
$488,000 for a 2-year permit.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting to note that our state is not the only state that's gone through this. Just last year, the state of Florida passed similar legislation, and Governor DeSantis had to come to the rescue and kill it, recognizing small business to be the backbone of the economy.
Yes, ma'am.
Some industry leaders I talked to actually think the 53,000 number is an underestimate when accounting for packaging and design companies or security personnel that work in cannabis shops. Does anyone have maybe a more accurate number of how this bill would destroy the industry and the collateral?
That's an average based on a survey that was done, an economic impact survey that was done. Every company in the state, there was no time to interview every single company in the state. So that's an average, but I would quadruple that number and I would increase it further when I added in all the ancillary businesses like delivery companies and packaging companies and printing companies, insurance companies, credit card processing companies, payroll companies. So there are a lot of businesses that will be affected adversely by this. There will be a cascading ripple effect. Retailers will close their doors, distributors will close their doors, small businesses like the ones I mentioned just now will also close their doors. There will be a cascading effect when people can't pay their mortgages. The state will start paying out tens of thousands of unemployment claims because the state put them out of business, so they should pay for them, which is why we asked Governor Abbott to veto this. The impact of it, it's like throwing a pebble into a lake, watching the ripples go out. The unintended consequences, or the intended consequence of shutting down an industry and seeing but the actuality of what will happen, the businesses that will close down, the devastation, the loss. We're talking, I mean, let's go back to the veterans. I'm not a veteran. I support veterans. I'm grateful to them for their service. The idea that someone committed suicide on the same day they were debating taking these products away from everyone, including veterans, is disgusting. It's heartbreaking, and it's appalling that anyone even proceeded with this. So, to your answer, there are a lot of other companies, people, and industries that will be impacted by this.
Thanks, Cynthia. We probably have time for just one more quick question. Then we have to clear the room in anticipation of the House meeting on the floor. So if there's maybe one more question, we're happy to field it at this time.
What are the, I'm assuming because of the proximity that New Mexico and Oklahoma, are they just waiting to pick up the pieces?
Absolutely.
Failure?
They'll fill the void.
I mean, that's the best case scenario. We also have cartels that are looking for, the other legal states picking up this demand would be the best case scenario, because the worst case would be cartels, the black market, illicit drug dealers. Those people do not check IDs. They do not test products. They do not care about the people here at all. So, and again, like, we, as a producer, we hear these stories from veterans about how it's changed their life. Everyday average Texans about how these products change their lives for the better. We're not pummeled with the negative. Never heard the negative, only the positive. And so we hope to keep doing that to protect people from things like that overflow into cartel and black market land where nobody wants to be. We've spent a lot of time fighting that.
Thanks. All right, at this time, we're going to have to conclude. I want to remind you that we are going to deliver these petitions, handwritten letters, to the governor's office on the first floor if you'd like to join us there. If not, thanks for coming out. One other thing, I want to call your attention to this placard over on the right side with a QR code that will take you to the petition. And as you can see on the left side over there, we're at about 117,000.